Hi everybody, I'm Terry Fator. We're going to be doing a writing session for a puppet. This is a puppet that came from Steve Axtell. I called him up and I asked him, hey, can you provide us with a puppet? We're going to do a writing session to try to teach ventriloquists how we write our routines. I've got a new road show that hopefully a lot of you guys will be seeing tonight at the Taft Theater. But that's really what this is about, is how to put together a professional routine. It's so much harder to do it by yourself. Most of us are not professional comedy writers. I actually do have a professional comedy writer on my writing staff who that's all he does. He works for a lot of top television shows. This guy can sit down and write 50 jokes. I can't do that, never have been able to do that. But what I do is I'm an idea man. So what I'll do is I'll listen to the jokes, I'll change them. Now, obviously a lot of you can't have a professional comedy writer on your team, but all of us know somebody who's funny, which is where I get to my other friend who's here. He's just a funny guy that's a good friend of mine, and we like to bounce stuff off of each other to try to see if it fits. So that's what we're really going to be doing today. Is we've got this new character right here. I called it my friend Steve Axtell and I said, hey, do you have a puppet that we can do a routine with? We want to write. I haven't created a character. I don't have a voice for him yet or anything, but this is the character. You see he has many tentacles. He's obviously an alien puppet. So why don't we go to John. John Max here. John Max is going to be kind of telling you about how, well, the process and some rules about comedy writing.
I'm John Max. I'm one of Terry's writers. I've written for Jay Leno, The Tonight Show, Billy Crystal, Marty Short, Chris Rock, Steve Martin, Terry obviously for a number of years. And whoever it is, we write in the voice of that particular comic. And one of the most fun things for me is to sit down with Terry and with Pete, like we do here on a regular basis, as we come up either with new routines or we come up working on one of Terry's shows. Because the process is what's so much fun, and that's something that you really, as you're getting your career and your characters together and moving forward, enjoy the process. And what Terry said about having somebody like Pete and myself to come in and bounce, not only is it fun, but that's where the creativity comes from. There's a couple things that come to mind that you should do. The first is we don't edit. This is a writing session. There's no wrong, there's no right. You edit later, you build big, and then you narrow down. The way you end up with Mount Rushmore is you take a piece of granite and you carve away everything that doesn't look like 4 presidents. Okay, in this case, you come up with a routine by taking all the ideas you have, but you have a couple of mileposts along the way. So as you're doing this, you want to figure out who's the character, what is he trying to say, what's his point of view, why is he there on stage with you? Because in the end, if you go up there and you have 20 great jokes unconnected with the particular character you're doing, it's going to be funny, but it's not going to have staying power. And eventually the audience is going to say, well, that doesn't really fit. Plus you have nothing to build on. So one of the things we do is, as we're building a character for Terry, as we're talking, sitting, we want to know who that character is. Why is he there? What does he do? So you want to think long term. You want to not edit. You want to have fun, and we want to bounce things back and forth over, off of each other, because there is no wrong. That's later when you have it all written down, you're starting to put it together. Then, of course, the most important thing is you got to try it out, because in the end, what you think is funny, what we think is funny, the audience is going to really dictate to you what, in fact, works. And that's when you have to end up with a 5-minute routine. So for example, for a character like we have here, we might start with 12 minutes of material. And then we might, as Terry goes and practices it and tries it, he goes, that works, that doesn't work. That's basically where we are with this process today.
Now, what John was referring to when he referred to edit, in other words, don't worry about not being offensive, okay? That can come later. Obviously, just let your brain come up with anything that it can possibly come up with, and then look at it later and say, gosh, that might be offensive to somebody. Now, if you want to be a comic that doesn't mind being offensive, that's totally okay. I don't do that. I don't like to offend people. I want everyone in my audience to have fun, so I try to be as sensitive as I possibly can. So I will edit a lot more later, but I won't when we're doing the writing session. Here's a good example. Okay, we came up with this guy. and we said, so we have this alien puppet. So we're saying, what kind of a character do we create? Well, we came up with the idea that he's an illegal alien, okay? Now, at first, the automatic reaction is, oh, si, senor, how you doing today? It's nice to see you, you know? And I was like, wow, that's funny. He's an illegal alien from Mexico. And then my wife was like, I don't know, that might be a little offensive. People, you know, you don't want to do that. It's kind of a hot button issue. And so she said, why don't you make him an illegal alien from Canada? And we were, and when I told the writing team, we were like, oh my gosh, that's way funnier. So that's what I'm talking about with the editing process. Don't worry about coming up with the idea, then look at it later and decide, that's not really right for me. Maybe it is right for you. Maybe you don't have a problem with that. But for me, I did have a problem with it. I don't want to offend my wonderful illegal aliens who come and see my show. So anyway.
Some comics divide the audience. Not divide them among that audience there, but it's us against them. So Lewis Black, for example, when he does his comedy, very funny guy, but it's us in the audience. We smart people are against the stupid whatever in Washington, D.C. Terry unites his audience. Terry brings everyone together so that whether you're there or not there, you all have the same point of view on what's funny. The other thing is what Terry was talking about when we made the character an illegal alien from Canada. Again, sometimes you take the easy layup on a joke. Sometimes a joke just screams to be done. It's so funny in and of itself, you got to do it. But in this case, the easy way out would have said, oh, he's from Mexico. Okay, no, it's a little harder to make it from Canada, but it's smarter and in the long run provides us with a lot more comedy and a lot more comic fodder over the long run.
So now we're going to get started, and what we've done is, I did not want, I told everybody, our idea is we've got an illegal alien from Canada, this is this guy here, and I just said, everybody come up with your own ideas, write your own stuff. I got some of my own. A friend of mine who is also a comedy writer and also on our writing team, Linda Parrott, she was able to submit some ideas as well. And so we're going to, we're just going to sit here and start pitching. Now, I'll kick it off, and some of my first ideas was, okay, he's crash landed in Canada, and now these are some of my just broad ideas. And he's crossed over illegally into the U.S. Now, there are two ways that we can do this. We can make it so that he obviously knows he's an interstellar traveler from outer space, or he's trying to blend in, and he's trying to convince us he's actually Canadian, that he's not. Well, he's not from outer space.
What if he's in like a witness protection program?
Oh, that's
from his own planet.
I like that.
I also thought maybe he's here on what is his mission? Why is he here? His mission is to study Earth, to study the United States. And that opens up to where Terry, he's here questioning you for you to explain what life is like in America in the year 20.
Okay, wait. So he landed in Canada. I think I have a better idea. What if he's an illegal alien from Canada that's here to do jobs Americans won't do? Anal probes.
Well, there's some Americans who like this. I mean, let's be honest.
So obviously, yes. But okay, so he does. Okay, so well, yeah. Okay, late night abductions, but he's not a serial killer, obviously.
No.
So he does these. You know, he does abductions. He does anal probes.
I want to see his business card.
Yeah. So that's the thing is he's here. Oh, okay. So if I was to do and this
so
is
he's from Uranus.
He's from Uranus. Oh, that's great.
Horrible.
Depending on how.
Talking about the layups.
Yeah.
I do the jobs Americans don't want to do. I do anal probes. Where are you from? Uranus.
Okay. My favorite jokes are the ones who have double entendres. If you're going to tell a quote adult style joke, I like it to have a secondary meaning. I love to have double meanings. Meanings that mean something totally different to a child than they would to an adult. For example, I have a character in my show named Vicky the Cougar, and she talks about the fact that she went to the Oscars, and we show her in a dress that goes there's a huge slit up there, and I say, my goodness, that dress is revealing, and then Vicky looks over and says, yeah, you can almost see the red carpet. Well, she has red hair. So a joke like that goes right over the kids' heads, and I'm sure we have kids in the audience that don't have a clue what I'm talking about, but you adults know exactly what I'm talking about, and that's what I'm taught. I love those jokes. So obviously Uranus is the name of a planet. And so those are the jokes that I would probably keep in if I was going to do this. But obviously it's not appropriate for younger people, so you just would take that joke and scratch it out and say, no, that's not one that we want to use.
It's a really funny joke. It works. It's a double entendre, so you can get out of it whatever you want.
Wow, I can't believe I'm actually meeting an alien. Oh yeah, that's right, I'm an alien. Wow, so you must have come from a long way. I certainly did, Saskatchewan. Wait, what? I thought you were from outer space. Oh no, I'm Canadian. I'm an illegal alien. I crossed over without papers. That's right. What are you doing in America? I'm here to do the jobs Americans won't do. Like what? Oh, you know, anal probes, things like that. So where are you really from? Uranus. Okay, so...
And by the way, the one thing is, when he used the word Saskatchewan, that's funnier than Canada. In the end, you go specific rather than more general. And plus, it's the K sound. There's nothing funnier than any word with a K. So, in the end, what Terry did naturally there, and I wasn't playing, we started Canada, and all of a sudden he made it Saskatchewan. Then, of course, we caught ourselves. You stick, even if the logic seems weird, stick to internal logic. So what Terry did was, okay, Saskatchewan, well, maybe he landed there, but he came originally from Uranus. Right. So you can keep up that premise. So we ought to stick on this. Are there other jobs?
Okay. Well, you said abduction, which is obviously not a job, but that's a funny idea.
Well, what are some of the things that aliens do? Cattle mutilations.
Very big issue.
Cattle mutilations. So how do we... Okay, now this is interesting because you're about to see a process of taking something and turning it into a joke. And none of us had thought of cattle mutilations.
And it might be a complete dead end.
Yes, it might be a total dead end, but you know what's funny? What is the most famous steakhouse in America? When you talk about a steakhouse, what is it?
Ritz Chris, Outback.
Okay, Outback. Okay, there you go. That's right. He goes, okay, so you're here to do...
A lot of Americans think Canada and Australia is the same thing.
Yeah, but that's what I'm wondering is if we go from... He says, well, what kind of jobs do you do? Oh, you know, anal probes. Where are you from? Well, I landed in Saskatchewan, but I'm from Uranus. Okay, and then you go, so what other kind of jobs do you do? Oh, cattle mutilations. Well, what do you do that for? Well, we used it to start an Outback steakhouse or something like that.
You have to work backwards.
You have to, yeah. You don't want the funniest part of the joke to be in the middle. It has to always be at the very end.
Don't have the punch be in the middle and then trail off with an explanation.
Exactly.
So it needs to end on the word Outback, if that's what it is, if that's what we're going to go to, or Outback needs to set up where you're taking it to. So for example, to me, I'm just going right now, so he's doing anal probes and Outback, either way, he's out in your back. I mean,
that's how I mean, yeah.
Anal probes and an Outback is awesome. That's not on the menu.
So, and whenever it's this is the chef, you want to wash his hands before he cuts your steak.
And believe me, I've got a lot of hands. Takes me 4 hours to wash my hands, okay, or whatever, you know. So
I like that trail of thought. So you set up the Outback thing as an extension of the anal probe, but then you end on the cattle mutilation.
Yeah.
And I love the idea on the hands, and he's got a lot of hands, and he goes, at least I think they're hands.
How many writers does Jay Leno have?
We have 18 on the show.
18 writers on Jay Leno. So don't feel that you can do all this by yourself. There is no shame whatsoever in finding your funniest friend. And all of us, we all go to church with, or we went to school with, or we all know somebody that's a class clown that makes you laugh, that cuts up. That's the guy or the woman that you want to sit down with and just go, hey, listen, I'm trying to come up with some ideas. Let's bat some ideas around.
I feel like it's like trying to play tennis by yourself. You know, like this is how you lob something over and then that person hits it back, and usually it's going to get better. Sometimes it gets worse. I like his landing in Canada thing. Why did he get there? Did he break down? You know, it's like,
yeah,
is he on a mission? If he broke down, it's like, yeah, it turns out my ship was made in Canada too, or whatever. You know, like some kind of silly joke, or maybe he hit a moose. You know, like, So, some reason that he landed in Canada.
Canadian,
Or if he's on a mission specifically, then what's in Canada?
But also, I want to go back for a second. Let's hit our rule of threes,
Okay.
Which is, we know he's there for anal probes. We know he does cattle mutilations. Is there a third?
Now, John just mentioned the rule of threes. I don't want to leave you out. You may not know what the rule of threes are. He mentioned a little bit earlier that there are certain letters and certain consonants and sounds that are funnier than others. And it's just a rule to comedy writers that the K sound is always funnier. So when I said, and again, that just came out, Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan's a funny word. Try to find funny words that you can say. Funny words make your job much easier. But there's a rule of threes. A lot of times when I'm writing for my show in Vegas, we always try to go in threes. For example, my character, Walter T. Airedale, he talks about the fact that he has 3 scandals, and then he goes through 1 scandal, 2 scandals, 3 scandals.
Yeah, for whatever reason, people identifying threes is why, phone numbers come in 3, there's the area code in the 2 sections. The original jokes are, priest, a minister, and a rabbi walking. You have 3 things. When you do the threes, they can work a couple ways. All 3 parts can be funny. The first 2 can be serious, and the third one can be a punchline. Or Seinfeld once had a great line where he says, the first one's funny, the second one doesn't matter, and then the third one's funny. Which actually true. Whatever you do, I prefer to go with 3 different ones. So in this one, when we're talking about his jobs, anal probes, cattle mutilations, let's try to come up with a third one if we can.
Okay.
If we can't, it's not the end of the world. Once we get them, we'll decide what order to put them in.
Exactly.
Okay, if they're all equal, it doesn't matter. But otherwise, you want to have the third one being the funniest, punchiest, big blam one at the end, so you can go to the next one. Where are you from? And he goes, I'm from a cold, bleak place far away where the air's too cold to breathe. And you go, what planet's that? And he goes, Canada. And then you say, Canada's not a planet. And he goes, oh, you're telling me William Shatner's from Earth.
William Shatner, you're talking about William Shatner? Yeah, don't forget, Justin Bieber's from Canada too. He's the only person I know that travels at warp speed.
Drives at warp speed.
That drives at warp speed. So again, now a joke like that you have to be very careful with because it's only going to be good for a little while. Telling jokes about people and that's in the news, those are great for a few weeks, sometimes even a few months. But you have to be very careful about not keeping a joke in your show too long that is pop culture. Now, obviously, Shatner is going to be forever. You can tell a William Shatner joke forever because he's known for Star Trek and he's known for that. So.
I mean, one of the things too is so your show should be obviously built around your premise. You want evergreens in it, jokes that will last forever. But always let the audience know. Treat them as smart. So when you get in that topical joke, when you get in that Justin Bieber joke, whatever, know it. Keep it for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 months, and then trade it out.
Yeah, and you can notice. You'll notice the audience laughter if you're doing it all the time. I have a show. I do 5 nights a week at the Mirage. And I start noticing, if I have a Lindsay Lohan joke in my show, I start noticing that, they're not quite laughing as much as they used to. If they're still laughing, keep doing it. You don't have to worry about it. And now one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to be doing, here we are in 2013. If you're still doing Bill Clinton jokes, people might still laugh at those jokes, but I can promise you when they leave, they're going to say, holy cow, they're still doing Bill Clinton jokes. So you gotta be careful. You don't want to do stuff that's like ancient, old, stuff that's... So that's something.
The trick with the Bieber thing too is you've got 2 things going on here. You've got a sort of a recent celebrity and then a very recent specific news thing. I'm driving at warp speed.
Right.
So you may end up dropping the warp speed thing, but you can keep Bieber for a little longer.
Right.
So he's got a little longer longevity than the actual actor.
That's true.
That's like the Lindsay Lohan thing. Lindsay Lohan is always in the news for doing something silly. But the jokes about her driving, crashing, or being drunk, that stuff is specific to that time.
Right.
So like John said, you can use those things for a little while, and you may swap out the material, but you may keep the person, because that person's funny for longer.
Yeah, good point, good point. Now, you might notice that this is very ADD. We started off talking about doing the threes. We still haven't gotten to the threes. That's pretty much how writing sessions are, especially our writing sessions, where I know I have ADD. Do you?
Yeah.
Okay, do you?
I wasn't paying attention.
So there you go. We have ADD. So what we do is we trail off into these things, but a lot of times that's how we get gems. So don't worry about that. You don't have to worry about being structured. The idea is to get a routine. And as we're doing this, we're coming up with more ideas. And as we come up with all these ideas, then we take the jokes and go, man, I really like the William Shatner joke. That should go here. And somebody should be...
Well, I was just saying, what's important about this is that everybody has a slight role. Now, we're all obviously throwing stuff into the ring, But if nobody's writing this stuff down, then the ADD becomes
a real problem. Normally somebody will be writing down every single joke. People, I mean, who wants to talk about anal probes? But, you know, when you get 50, you should get one. So, and when you get to be 80, you should get 2.
So what type of anal probes do you do? Well, 3 different sizes. 3 different sizes. Chloe, Courtney, and Kim. Or as we call them, them on our planet, the mother load. We want to take our character. What else does he do? Why else is he here? What else is he doing? Is he commenting on Earth? Is he reporting back? Is he? Does he want you to explain what is going on? Do we want to make it? That gets a little too much topical, but or just about trends in society. I mean, where are we going to take him next?
This is a perfect question with something like him. You want to be careful about making sure that your character stays in character. You don't want to just start randomly telling jokes. I love the fact that we were able to get a Kardashian joke in there, and yet it's still relevant to his character. Think of shows like Third Rock from the Sun. Why did that work so well? They were fish out of water. That's what he is. He's a fish out of water. How many times have we sat here and laughed our butts off at a joke, thinking it is going to be so funny, and I do it in the show, and it's total silence?
We call it the rule of crickets. Okay, it's the rule of cricket. First of all, you cannot be afraid to fail. Don't worry about failing.
No, not at all.
You got to go up there and you try it. And I always say this: if the joke works the first night, it's probably going to work every night. If it doesn't work the first night, Terry will always do it one more night, just in case.
Yeah, I will. But what I'll do is sometimes I can find a joke. I have a joke in my show where Walter T. Airedale, my cowboy puppet, is running for president. And he talks about, and obviously it's relevant because of all the birth certificate stuff with Obama, but Walter says that he's having trouble because people are accusing him of not being born in America. And then I say, and he says, but I have proof. And I say, you have your birth certificate? And he says, you bet I do. Now, of course, he's made out of wood. Suddenly, a Home Depot receipt comes up, and it says lumber, nails, you know, all the things that you would expect a wooden puppet to be made out of. It gets a huge laugh. The very last thing on there, it says brass nuts. Now, once again, that's a double thing. Brass nuts, you can actually buy brass nuts from there. But of course, we always say brass cojones or whatever. And then the first night, I tried it, and I worded the joke. I did not word it right. And so I said, oh, I'm noticing something about the brass nuts. And I mean, total silence, crickets. It was, you know, nobody laughed. Now, I could have just thrown the joke out and left it up there. But instead, what I did was I tried to figure out a way to change it. So I didn't give up on the joke. I said, you know, maybe it's a funny idea that Walter has, part of Walter's makeup is that he has brass nuts. So I said, I reworded it. And now the way the joke is, I look and I say, oh my goodness, and I laugh at the picture and I say, oh, I notice you have brass nuts. And Walter says, yeah, every president should have them.
Try them both ways if you can, if you have the luxury for that. But ultimately, it's your show, it's your voice. So you're right, in the sense of we're here to help the process along, but like, if I think something's funny, it doesn't really matter. I'm not the one up there with the puppet.
Exactly.
You know?
You're the performer.
Yeah.
So
you're the one who has to sell that, so it has to feel natural to you. If in the back of your mind you're thinking, I don't really think that way's funnier, it's going to come across that way.
Right.
A little bit of a really, really big statement. We do the one job that no American in the history of this country has ever wanted to do. It is beneath every member of this society. What's that? A Celine Dion impression.
A Celine Dion impression. Oh, I'm here to do jobs Americans won't do. Oh, really? Like what? Oh, listen, there's one job that no American in the history of the whole wide world would ever possibly want to do. I'm telling you, no one would ever want to do this, and that's what I'm here to do. Which one is that? A Celine Dion impression. Well, what other jobs do you do? Oh, of course, cattle mutilations. I don't understand that. Why in the world do you do that? Well, we started our own chain of steakhouses. Outback, you may have heard of them. Outback? I've heard of that. Yeah, which leads me to my third job Americans won't do, anal probes. Okay, that's perfect.
So at this point, you know, what Terry's come up with and what we've all come up with here is the basic start of the bit. Whether it's 2 minutes or 3 minutes, we've got that set. Now you want to take it to the next level. And to me, that is, again, we still have to we want to come up with a name for the character, but why else is he here? He does the jobs that Americans don't want to do, but there has to be something more. So the question would be, I mean, is he here to report back to his home planet? Is he here because he's an exchange student, a real foreign exchange student, and he wants to find out, you know, he's trying to learn about America, to learn about American society.
Oh yeah, I crash landed in Saskatchewan. That's what I'm here for. He goes, I had to get the heck out of Canada. I tell you, it's way too cold there. It's too cold. You know, how cold is it? When I landed, I was green. You know. So yeah, I wanted to get out of Canada as quickly as possible. How come? It took me 3 hours to put on my mittens. Okay, because obviously he's got these.
You also could do, and again, this depends on the type of comic you are and the type of routine you want to do, you could do what are called formula jokes. And that's not to knock them. It's Johnny Carson's, how cold is it, how hot is it, whatever. So how cold is it in Canada? And that allows them to do a joke run. Where you can do 3 to 5 jokes. It's so cold that married couples are actually cuddling for warmth. You know what I mean? So you can do a bunch of those where you write about 8 jokes, pick the best 3 to 5, and you can do bam, 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 with you reacting to the character like, oh, come on.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I'm an illegal alien. That's right. You know, how did you know I was an alien? Well, I mean, it's kind of obvious. Oh, geez, I thought I was blending in. You know, okay, you got me. I'm an illegal alien. I just came here for a green card. I've already got a green wife. Okay, and then what is our next category going to be that we're going to talk about? So he wants to talk about why else are you here? You know, obviously you're going to do the jobs, but you know, oh, I'm trying to understand America. I just don't understand America. Tell me, who is Honey Boo Boo?
I don't understand football. I don't understand the rules of football. I don't understand hockey. I understand.
And then you start relating to things like, oh, my home planet, we have a sport, and these are the rules, and you know, you explain his rules to be even crazier than our rules.
I mean, the one great thing about having 10 hands, you can slap 5 with everybody. I mean, you can do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, the high-fiving takes forever.
Exactly. What do we do? Well, the games only last 1 minute, but it takes 59 minutes to high-five everybody.
There are no bad jokes when you're creating the idea. There are bad jokes when you're trying to put it on in front of an audience. Say whatever comes to your mind. It doesn't make any difference. Just say whatever comes to your mind and then let it go and then collect everything and throw out the bad ones.
One of the important things I think that what we do, and you mentioned that they don't have to start from here, we picked a starting place. We picked a place that he was going to be an illegal alien from Canada. That's funny because what happens is you're right. The routine is absolutely limitless. Your imagination is limitless, but you can't work that way. You have to start, people use the phrase, think outside of the box. I think that's the enemy of creativity. I think the thing to do with creativity is think inside a box, but be very well defined about your box. Our box was that he's an alien from Canada. That's where we started. Everything was framed by that. And like you said, we moved on to different boxes. The next box was, what is he here for? What stuff is he doing? But you just be very clear about what your boxes are, define those so you can stay within them.
Exactly.
You can push the boundaries, but I think what's overwhelming from a comedy standpoint is if you don't define that box very well in the beginning, you can't shape what you're writing. You just throw all this stuff that seems unrelated. Whereas if you pick very specific boxes like we've done, a point of view, that's another way to keep a box. You have a point of view as a performer, but your puppet, each puppet has a different point of view too. He's not going to tell the same jokes that Walter would tell. He's not going to tell the same jokes that Winston would tell.
You have to be very, very careful about different characters in your show. Now I do an hour and a half a night, so I have 8 to 9 characters that come out every single night. You don't want to just do one character for an hour and a half, that'll be boring. So you want to create characters. You have to be careful that each character stays within their boundaries. For example, it's interesting because John will send me jokes. And he'll say, oh, wouldn't it be funny if Dougie, I have a stoner character that is like, you know, constantly, he's always high. He'll say, wouldn't it be funny if Dougie said this, and it'll be a really funny joke, and then I'll text back, or I'll write back and I'll say, you know, I think it would be funnier if Walter said this, and of course he says, you're absolutely right. Because each character has their own personality. As I create this character and he becomes a Canadian, an illegal alien Canadian, he's not going to tell the same jokes that my cougar puppet will tell, or my country and western puppet, or Winston the impersonating turtle. So you have to be very careful to always make sure that the jokes stay within the realm of the character that you're doing. If you have a little boy puppet or a little girl puppet that wants to tell jokes about going to school, that's great, but that might be a really nice one for the Canadian puppet. You know, he might be able to tell some great school jokes because now he's finally enrolled in a public school or a private school, or he's homeschooled. We don't know. Again, your imagination is limitless, but make sure you keep it in, like Pete said, keep it in that box. Make sure that it stays within his character.
It's work. It's fun work, but it's work. And don't be afraid of failing. Get it right, try it over and over again, add to it, build it. The second thing is positioning is very important. By that I mean when you have 3, generally one types, one's lying on the couch, and one paces. So know that, just have your assigned roles. And 3 is writers, because you're a writer for this session, remember, there's nothing more important than bunch.
I want you to understand the whole point of what we've done here today was to help unlock your creativity. We want you to have fun doing this. Don't pressure yourself. Don't feel like the world's going to come to an end if you don't come up with the funniest jokes and everything. Have fun. Everybody get together with your funny friends and sit down and write. That's what this whole process is. And then put it all together and try to come up with something that your audience is going to like. Tweak it. As you notice people are laughing or not laughing, tweak it. Maybe change the wording, just like I mentioned earlier. Change the wording and see if maybe if you feel inside that a joke is funny, then try to make it work. Try to figure out what it is. It may be the way you're saying something that is making it not funny. But the point of this is have fun, enjoy yourself, and I know you can come up with incredible routines.